Welcome to the Art Center Lunch at Home artist talk from the Corrine Woodman Gallery. We're talking now today with Erin MacAdams, who is showing work in the Corrine Woodman Gallery from May 12th through June 19th of this year. And so welcome, Erin. I'm very pleased to have you. Tell us a little bit about what made you submit artwork to the Art Center to be part of an exhibit.
I first started going to some events at the Art Center probably like a couple of years ago. I used to go to the artist meetup when that was happening. And last year I did Arts Alive, and I thought, hey, I'll try to, I have enough art. I can.
Right. And do you think it is important that people see your art, or are you okay with just having it on the wall in your home?
Oh, I want to share it.
Yeah.
That's an important part of it, I think. Yeah.
But what kind of reactions are you hoping to get from people, other than, oh, this is really good?
Yeah, I'm like, I want people to like it. But because I use art as sort of like it's sort of recording my thoughts and my perspective, I hope that others connect with those thoughts and feelings in whatever way. So
yeah. How would you describe your work generally?
I do a lot of sort of mixed media work. I'm really influenced by my time as a tattoo artist, and I did a lot of figure drawing when I was in school. So I incorporate a lot of that sort of symbology and figures and color and pattern.
Mm-hmm. When you say school, was that school to do art? Or
yeah. I went to Eastern Michigan University because I'm originally from Michigan. I've been in Oregon for the past 9 years. But I have a BFA with a concentration in drawing.
Okay. Yeah. And we talked very briefly about this. You identify yourself as a LBGT artist. So that is an important part of your artwork, because I mean, you were mentioning that in your statement. That was in the first sentence, and it caught my eye right away, because I was looking. We've had a show curated by an LBGT curator. She left the Q off because some of the older folks don't like the word queer, because it has had some negative connotations. But and so the Art Center really wants to continue that kind of acknowledgement of all of us. And what makes you think I'm an LGBTQ artist? I'm not an artist.
I think it's just because like my art is very personal. It's almost like journaling sometimes, even if it's not a self-portrait. It's kind of about how I'm feeling or things I'm thinking of. So because I think about gender a lot, and being part of the LGBTQ community, that's a big part of it. And so it's art is a tool to talk about my gender with others, and
How
being
does that, how does it manifest that in the imagery?
A lot of my figures will look sort of androgynous,
Mhm.
or a lot of times I'll include like the transgender symbol or different flag colors. So sometimes it's subtle, but sometimes it's more obvious. But it's usually in the work in one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. It's obvious to you.
Yeah,
And do you think it would be obvious to people like me? You know,
that's a very
an
interesting
older
question.
generation,
I
and
hope so.
yes,
Um, yes, sorry. Um, yeah, I hope that the connection is clear. For me, it's very, it's a very present in my life, being like being non-binary and trans. So
yeah,
um, uh, I'm always, sharing my pronouns with people because I use they, them. Um, and and most people think of gender as one or the other. So I'm always explaining it, and I feel like the art is another way to do that.
yeah. I couldn't agree more with that. When we did a show on gender identity, where a mother of a transgender person, now identifying as a female, um, and I, like I said, I'm an older generation than you are. Um, I learned so much from that show and from what was around it, and how fluid gender is or can be, as opposed to male, female, or that's about it. So
Yeah.
I do think that it's really great that there are artists like you who pay attention, and who give us a handle, who give us uh, imagery to think about it. And because I think it is good to think about it and talk about it. And I said then I would probably stick my foot in my mouth multiple times, and I have, and I will, but not intentionally. So and I think that is all that counts. So something entirely different about the work, because we really want to talk about the artwork and not exclusively about gender identity. Um, how would you describe your palette? So what is your color range that you're using? And um, is it connected perhaps with the material you use? You mentioned that you're saying mixed media, and that is such a dangerous word, because it can mean
So many things.
straw glued on burlap, but it can
Right.
also mean alcohol, ink, and glitter.
Yeah. Um, I use a lot of colored pencil, watercolor, uh, acrylic. Um,
Mhm.
sometimes like found objects or images, uh, and some marker. I use a lot of paint pens too. Um,
Yeah,
and I also work digitally a lot too. And that sort of comes from working as a tattoo artist because I would draw digitally for that all of the time.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah.
So these are
My color. Oh
very,
wait, I didn't say the color palette though.
oh yeah,
I do tend for like kind of bright color palettes, and there's a lot of like pink and blue and turquoise lately. Like I've been looking at a lot of like vaporwave inspired art, so like bright colors have
So
been.
tell us a little bit about vaporwave
Oh,
and enlighten us on that.
um, it, I, it's such a, it's got like elements of like technology and color and collage that I really connect with. And sometimes using like a pattern mixed with like a more realistic subject, or, you know, mixing
Yeah.
things
So
together.
you describe materials that you use that are fairly straightforward art materials.
Yeah.
I actually had to laugh when I saw you coming into screen and you had the turquoise earphones. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that because I've seen that color quite a bit in your work, so that's fun. So
Yeah.
you use relatively straightforward art materials, and then you say, oh, but I also work digitally. So do you mix those? Do you start with pencil on paper and then transfer that into your computer? Or tell us a little bit about how that works and what's the difference for you between the two, and why you use one or the other in a particular circumstance.
Yeah, I definitely mix them. Last year I was doing some acrylic painting commissions, and I would draw the sketches digitally, and then I would put like different color palettes or background ideas as thumbnails,
Oh.
and then send them to someone, and then they would pick one, and then I would make the acrylic painting.
So in that case, you
Based on that.
use it as a very fast sketchbook.
Yeah, because I can sketch it and then I can like copy it and then try different colors with it
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah. Um, and the
Do you
other,
use it as an end product?
yeah, I do use it as an end product as well. Um, I it's really fun to paint digitally, because you can make it look almost like traditional work, but you can also like put a spin on it and use like different brushes that do wild things, you know. So I like to play around with like new programs and stuff like that. I did a little bit of like uh, playing with animation stuff recently too. So
you mentioned that you had a commission. So are you one of those artists that is lucky enough that you can live from your work?
Well, it recently, no. But there have been times where like my commissions have been busier.
Yeah.
Like I said, I worked as a tattoo artist, and I took a small break from tattooing, and I will actually be doing a guest spot at a tattoo shop coming up probably this summer. And so between like having tattooing that's a little bit more of a like immediate income is so it is art, but you know, it's a little different.
Well, I'm interested in tattoo art because it is everywhere in the world. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe with different techniques and with different intensities, but there is no culture that doesn't use some type of tattoo. What for you is a successful tattoo?
I'm sort of newer to tattooing than I am to like drawing or painting. So for me, I'm really working on my technique and getting it as translating from like my thought or drawing into a tattoo. So that's important. But the other side of it is that you're working with someone and closely with someone, and they're going to wear that art. So it's collaborative, and I want the person that I'm tattooing to have a good experience and come out with a piece of art that they like. So that's really important too.
A great responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking when I was first learning.
Yeah. What attracted you to tattoo art?
Uh, I I don't know. I watched some of those like very first reality show tattoo shows like way back in like the early 2000s, and I was like a teenager and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I started getting tattoos, and then when I moved to Portland, I had a really good friend who owned a tattoo shop, and so I would sort of hang out there, help
Yeah.
out when they had like events and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, I have a drawing degree and I love tattoos, and all my friends have tattoos or are tattooers. I was like, I should, what do I need to do this?
So do you go between tattoo art and art on paper? Are you switching back and forth or?
Yeah, definitely. I usually always have a piece or two on paper or canvas that I'm working on. And I just work on it when I have the time. And then when I'm actively tattooing, there's like drawing for appointments that I have coming up. So there's drawing homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely bounce back and
What
forth.
was the first time that you realized that you had an artwork that you were, satisfied with and say, hey, um, I can do this and I should go to school for this?
Um, I think I just sort of talked to my friends who were tattooing, and went into in Oregon, you have to go to a tattoo
No,
school.
but I'm also meaning
So,
getting a BFA from the
oh,
Michigan.
oh, I don't know. Um, it's 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 a hard question to know, like when a piece of work is done, like in general.
Yeah.
Sometimes I come back to things a long time later and go over them or change them.
But say, for instance, you were in middle school and you were the kid that could always, I don't know, draw horses very well, or um, do you remember things like
uh,
that, or was it college that you stumbled on an art class and you realized,
uh,
oh, this is it, man?
no, I can't like remember when I started drawing, because I was just always a quiet kid that drew and read books, and
Okay.
uh, so I my earliest, I remember that there was like a drawing contest for something like a t-shirt in my elementary school.
Yeah,
Like that's my first, I remember being like
yeah,
uh able to put art towards that.
yeah. And tell us a little bit about the process, how you go about. Is it the idea that comes first, or are you a doodler that?
uh I definitely do a little bit of all of it. Sometimes I have an idea when I start, and sometimes I'm just playing with whatever medium that I'm using, um, depending. I try to do art every day, and I usually do. But so part of it is the habit
Mhm.
And so sometimes I have the idea already, and sometimes I'm like, I should draw something, and
Yeah.
pull out stuff. Uh,
What excites you most about making art?
uh, Telling stories and um, the like actual act of making art is exciting for me too.
Mhm.
I like uh, using different techniques and working with different
Do you do a lot of
things.
experimentation?
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I
And
would say I definitely do a lot of experimentation.
yeah, and how does that, do you throw out a lot?
Um, no. Um, it's kind of a problem. I we recently moved and I had like 3 big boxes full of like sketchbooks and stuff. So I've been going through some of the older stuff and like do I want to revisit some of these ideas and like scanning some of them and keeping some of them, like consolidating. So
Yeah.
uh, it's an ongoing process of like editing and yeah, just
So, but what is your biggest challenge in making art?
uh, having time and energy for it. I
Yeah.
definitely keep myself busy with different things. So sometimes I just don't have the energy to also work on art in that day or something like that.
Yeah. Your um, do your subject matter, does that come, um, is that imaginary, or do you work after, you said you did a lot of figure sketching, um,
Yeah.
so do you still do that, or
Yeah, I do still do that. Actually, there's a like a Zoom weekly uh figure drawing thing that I try to catch every week. I don't catch it every week, but it's just artists in like a Zoom meeting and we draw from photographs.
Mhm.
Um, so I've recently started doing that to sort of get back into it. And so off and on, I've done some figure drawing when I lived in Portland. There was like a studio that had life drawing a couple times a week, and I would try to drop in
Mhm.
when I could. Um, it's
And
good. It's good practice, and
uh,
and like it keeps my like it's like eating your vegetables. Uh,
are
but
they,
I enjoy it too.
oh, okay. I was
and
going to
and
ask.
a lot of times I use like that base drawing into a more like elaborate composition or piece by adding to it after. So that those drawings get repurposed like that a lot.
Yeah. What is your most, or what was a, not necessarily most, because that becomes so difficult to define. What was a very satisfactory experience in art making for you?
um I think I think um, it's most satisfying when I'm sort of connecting with people through my art, and sometimes and that the biggest one in my mind is through tattooing, but also like getting to share my work at the art center is
Mhm.
probably a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah. Well, and luckily we can have 25 people in the building, not in the Corinne Woodman Gallery, one or two
Yeah.
at the same time, but luckily we can be effectively open, so people can really come and see your work. So what would you say weighs most in your work? The color, the drawing, or the composition? Because they're all representational to a certain, not necessarily realistic, but
Yeah,
representational.
yeah. I do have like I'm usually along the sort of scale of illustrative drawing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know that one is more important than the other. It might be more specific to a piece. Like I might be like, I want to use this color palette and then play around with it for one piece while still doing like figures and other
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
but
yeah.
focusing on the color. And then, I might be experimenting with collage and something else, or yeah.
Mm.
I like to do a lot of different
Yes. Yeah.
different
Is
stuff.
there something that you would like to let the audience know that we haven't talked about?
I do want to plug, volunteer with the Mid-Willamette Trans Support Network.
Yeah.
We became a nonprofit recently, and
That's pretty impressive. That's not easy to do.
yeah, and we have like Zoom support groups, and I run a non-binary meetup via Zoom. Before COVID, we also had like a clothing closet and a potluck and stuff like that, and we'd like to get back to doing more in-person events too. So that's a big deal. And then also I'm gonna be doing a guest tattoo spot soon, so I'll have more info about that
All right. All
soon.
right.
But
So that was the Willamette Valley Trans
Support Network.
Support Network.
Yeah.
So if people Google that, they will come to you.
Yeah, we have a website and a Facebook page, and
yeah. Good for you.
we're always looking for help and volunteers, or
Yeah. And does the group do quite a bit of art related events, or you could push for that?
Yeah, we're not currently doing any art related events. I did kind of try to do like a artist meetup, but there wasn't at the time that much interest in it, but I would like to do that again for sure.
One step at a time.
Right? Yeah. It's been a lot sort of figuring out how to continue to do stuff like this past year or so.
Yeah. We would all like to forget about it, but we won't be able to, because it was so immense in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're 80, you will say, well, when I was a young person.
Yeah.
So we've been talking for a while, and people are getting antsy in front of their computers watching this. So I would like to ask our last question, and I hope you remember that at some point I told you what that question was, and that is, if money and space was not a problem, or it wasn't something you would have to think about, maybe it isn't a problem, what artwork would you like to own? And this could be a little piece of jewelry, but it could also be the Sixtine Chapel.
I was thinking about it, and I sort of went the architecture route, but I thought the biggest thing I thought of was the Detroit Institute of the Arts. It's
the whole institute.
The whole institute, yeah, because then I can share artists' work there, and also have like you know, I just have really good memories of that place from when
Okay,
I
I
was
was
a
going,
kid
I was
too.
going to ask why specifically the Detroit
Yeah, I was like,
Institute.
A museum. And then I was like, oh, it's got to be this one.
All right. So you would know your way around and you would know what is in the basement and you could change stuff around.
Yeah.
What a great idea. You're the first one in the last couple of years that I've asked this question where I've had people say, well, I don't want to own anything. And somebody wanted Monet's garden, but you're the first one who wants to share a whole art institute with everybody. So that's very nice. So I would like to thank you for your time, for being an artist. Keep at it. And I would like to recommend people to come to the Art Center um, always. But if you want to see Erin's work specifically, come between May 12th and June 19th. The Art Center is free. We are open Wednesday through Saturday from 12 to 5. So Erin, thank you. Viewers, thank you. We'll see you next time.